Welcome to this explainer on the absolutely fascinating history of digital cash. Today, we're drawing from Ethan J. Monroe's incredibly insightful book, Cryptonomicon, From Enigma to Blockchain, which really dives deep into the cypherpunk battle for financial autonomy. It's a wild journey, taking us all the way from the earliest theoretical foundations of digital privacy straight through to the modern, decentralized web we know today. Okay, let's just dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 6 key areas. First, the vision of digital cash, then early attempts with DigiCash. From there, we'll look at the rise and fall of e-gold, followed by Liberty Reserve's dark turn. Then we'll jump into modern privacy coins and DeFi, and finally wrap up with regulation and the future. Starting off with Section 1, the vision of digital cash and the cypherpunks' quest for autonomy. To really get this, we have to start with the fundamental, burning need for secure, private transactions. The whole idea was a desire to break completely free from the flaws, the heavy friction, and honestly, the constant surveillance inherent in traditional financial middlemen. Now, you might be wondering how this all started practically. Well, back in the 1980s, computer scientist David Shom pioneered this brilliant mathematical process called blinded signatures. Basically, it completely severed the link between a sender's identity and their transaction. Think of it like putting a signature in a sealed envelope. It's mathematically obscured or blinded, so the recipient can totally verify its authenticity without ever knowing who actually sent it. This was literally the bedrock of digital financial privacy. As you'll see on this timeline, Chom's cryptographic breakthroughs really sparked something big. They inspired a collective known as the cypherpunks. This philosophical movement published their bold manifesto in the early 90s, heavily advocating for strong cryptography to defend personal privacy. And that rapidly evolved into the very first real attempt at an anonymous digital currency, Chom's own company, DigiCash, and its digital token, eCash. So here's the crucial point. Even though DigiCash was a total cryptographic revolution, it ultimately failed. Why? Well, the adoption barriers were just massive. It required a huge shift in everyday consumer behavior, merchants had to completely overhaul their payment systems, and there was just intense friction trying to integrate this highly decentralized tech with slow, centralized legacy banks. Add in a complex regulatory environment, and well, it was just way ahead of its time. That brings us to Section 2, the rise and fall of e-gold, where tangible value meets the internet. Fast forward to the late 90s, and innovators Douglas Jackson and Barry Downey decided to try a totally different approach. Instead of pure math, they pegged digital tokens directly to physical, precious metals sitting in a secure vault. Look at the stark contrast between these two systems. On one side, you've got traditional fiat currency, heavily regulated, geographically bound, and strictly monitored. But on the other side, you've got e-gold, backed by actual physical gold, completely borderless, and offering pseudonymous accounts to users anywhere in the world. It was a real game changer because it offered the historic stability of gold, but with the lightning speed of the early internet. But unfortunately, that exact same pseudonymity was its ultimate undoing. Those privacy features were heavily exploited by criminal networks, basically turning e-gold into a massive hub for money laundering. Because they completely lacked robust Know Your Customer or KYC protocols, they fell into severe regulatory non-compliance. It turned into this intense cat-and-mouse game with law enforcement that finally culminated in a devastating 2007 indictment against the founders. That completely destroyed user trust and brought the whole platform crashing down. Moving to Section 3, Liberty Reserve's dark turn and the extreme edge of anonymity. The drama and honestly the stakes escalated significantly in 2006 with Arthur Budofsky's Liberty Reserve. This was a platform that took that cypherpunk ideal of absolute anonymity and pushed it into some very dangerous territory. Liberty Reserve's setup was wild. They relied on pseudonymous accounts identified literally only by numbers, utilizing internal transfers with digital Liberty Reserve dollars. There were absolutely zero stringent identification checks required. Now, this platform's sheer convenience and total lack of identity checks were a huge double-edged sword. Yes, it provided amazing global accessibility for unbanked users. And that brings us to the year 2013. Global law enforcement stepped in and decisively shut down Liberty Reserve, seizing the entire platform and arresting its founder. This single event sent a massive shockwave through the whole digital currency world. It definitively proved that total anonymity, without any kind of regulatory responsibility, was just completely unsustainable. If you find this analysis valuable, please like and subscribe to Knowledge Lighthouse to help us bring more truths to light. Okay, Section 4, Privacy Coins and DeFi, ushering in the modern era of digital cash. Emerging right out of the ashes of those early failures and massive shutdowns, the narrative completely shifts. This is where we see the rise of highly sophisticated modern privacy coins and the absolute explosion of the decentralized finance or DeFi movement. Today, we're really looking at two leading modern approaches to privacy in the crypto space. On the left, you've got Monero, which uses ring signatures to mathematically blend a sender's identity in with a whole group of others, making it virtually untraceable. And on the right, you have Zcash, which uses something incredibly clever called zero-knowledge proofs, giving users the option of totally selective, shielded transactions. To truly wrap our heads around Zcash, we have to understand these zero-knowledge proofs, specifically things called ZK snarks. I know, it sounds straight out of science fiction, right? But it's actually a mathematical marvel. It basically allows a system to verify that a statement is 100% true, like proving a transaction is valid and the funds actually exist, without exposing any of the underlying data. It hides the sender, the receiver, and the amount, while still proving everything is legit. But the modern era is about way more than just privacy. Enter smart contracts. When these launched on platforms like Ethereum, they completely revolutionized the concept of digital cash. These are essentially self-executing pieces of code living right on a blockchain. When certain predefined conditions are met, boom, the action happens automatically. It completely strips away the need for trust or any kind of third-party middleman. And it's exactly these smart contracts that birthed the entire DeFi movement. We're talking about an interconnected ecosystem that completely mirrors traditional finance, but operates entirely without centralized banks. We've got decentralized exchanges for direct peer-to-peer trading, automated market makers actively generating liquidity, stablecoins acting as a bridge to traditional fiat money, and completely decentralized lending and borrowing protocols. It's a whole new world. Finally, Section 5, Regulation and the Future, and the Decentralization Trilemma. Because, let's face it, history has a funny habit of repeating itself. Today's incredible digital cash systems are still facing that ultimate foundational battle between rapid innovation, the human right to individual privacy, and the heavy hand of government regulation. So today, we're basically looking at this wide sliding scale of financial control. Down on one end, you have the fully decentralized cypherpunk ideal of absolute personal autonomy. Right in the middle, you've got partially centralized models, like delegated proof of stake, that sacrifice a bit of decentralization for efficiency. And then, way over on the far end, we're seeing governments stepping up to launch their very own central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, which combine digital speed with total centralized government control. So, as we look ahead to Web 3.0 and the entire future of global finance, we are left staring at one absolutely vital, provocative question. Can we actually achieve a truly decentralized private financial future without simultaneously enabling the dark side of digital cash? It is the ultimate tightrope walk between personal autonomy and societal accountability, and we are right in the middle of it. Getting a real grasp on this history is absolutely crucial, and honestly, there is nothing quite like having the physical book in your hands to reference and learn from. For the complete deep dive, own the paperback. Get your high-quality paperback edition on Amazon via the link in the description. Add it to your collection today. Please share this video and check the description for more.